February 15th, 1989. The freezing air on the border of Afghanistan. General Boris Gromov is the last to cross the bridge over the Amu Darya River. The war, which lasted 3,338 days, is officially over. Soldiers return home, but the country they left behind no longer exists. Instead of a monolithic Soviet Union, they are met by the boiling cauldron of perestroika. At the same time in Washington, the inauguration of the 41st President of the United States, George H.W. Bush, takes place. He wins in a landslide, securing 426 electoral votes against Michael Dukakis's 111. America enters the era of a kinder and gentler nation, becoming the only player capable of dictating terms on the world stage. While Moscow tries to lick its wounds after Afghanistan, Washington begins to build a new world order. Soviet television in '89 ceases to be a sedative. The program Vzglyad turns into a national confession. Hosts Vladislav Listyev and Alexander Lyubimov smash party dogmas in a live broadcast. Late at night, the program Before and After Midnight airs, opening the viewer to previously forbidden topics and Western music. But the real cultural shock happens in the basements. For one Soviet ruble, the price of 4 loaves of bread, people in cramped video salons watch The Terminator and Star Wars. For the American audience, these films have already become a gold mine. James Cameron's The Terminator, with a budget of $6 million, has already brought in over $80 million by this point, turning Arnold Schwarzenegger into a global icon. In 1989, the United States releases Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, which earns nearly $500 million. In the Soviet Union, the movie Interdevotchka is released, a bitter drama about how the Soviet dream shattered against the reality of currency prostitution. This was the year the Union held its first Miss USSR pageant, officially recognizing the victory of Western beauty standards. In 1989, the sky above the planet became the arena for the last great confrontation of systems. The Soviet orbital station, Mir, became a symbol of Soviet superiority and long-term human presence in space. In '89, the Kvant 2 module was docked to it, turning the station into a true modular city in orbit. However, the United States strikes back in the field of high technology. In February '89, the first operational satellite of the GPS Navstar system is launched into orbit. What we have in every smartphone today began then as a top-secret military advantage for the Pentagon. At the same time, the American probe Voyager 2 makes a historic flyby of Neptune, transmitting the first images of the bright blue giant back to Earth. On the ground, the technological hunger of Soviet citizens was fed by the magazine Technika Molodyozi. It was the Bible for garage geniuses, publishing schematics for building the first home computers, the Agat, the BK0010, and the Corvette. But while Moscow celebrated 8-bit machines, Intel releases the 486 processor, the first chip with 1 million transistors. And Tim Berners-Lee at the CERN laboratory is already laying the foundation for the World Wide Web. The Internet, as we know it today, is being born. The economy of the Soviet Union in '89 is an economy of empty shelves. Literally everything was in short supply. Toilet paper, stockings, laundry detergent, soap, and sausage. Ration coupons became more important than money. People stood in lines for hours, often not knowing if the goods would even last. The reason was simple. A massive industry worked for warehouses and the military, not for ordinary people. The symbol of this decline was the preparation for the opening of the first McDonald's restaurant at Pushkin Square. In '89, thousands of Muscovites looked at the bright signs in bewilderment, unaware that they would soon be standing in lines for a hamburger as long as they did for rare boots. Tens of thousands of people applied for only 600 jobs. The competition was higher than for prestigious universities. The Soviet gold reserve was melting away, spent on purchasing American grain. A country with the best black soil in the world could not feed itself. The United States at this time possessed 8,000 tons of gold. The official exchange rate of the dollar in the Soviet Union was a fantastical 64 kopecks, but on the black market, it was already trading for 15 rubles. The gap in living standards was staggering. On an average salary of $2,250, an American could buy 8,300 liters of gasoline, while a Soviet citizen with 240 rubles could only buy 600 liters. Ukraine in '89 becomes the main challenge for the Kremlin. The Donbass is the industrial heart that has stopped beating in unison with Moscow. In July, mass strikes by coal miners begin. Tens of thousands of men in helmets take to the squares of Donetsk and Luhansk. The numbers speak for themselves. The Soviet Union produced 740 million tons of coal, while the United States produced nearly 900 million. But in the Union, over 1 million people worked in the mines, while in America, there were fewer than 150,000. American production was 6 times more efficient due to technology. A Ukrainian miner received a huge salary by Soviet standards, 800 rubles, but saw absolutely empty shelves. It was this everyday absurdity that led to the creation of the People's Movement of Ukraine, known as RUK. In Washington, they began to realize, without Ukraine, the Soviet Union was doomed. The fate of the empire was being decided not in the Kremlin, but on the protesting banks of the Dnieper. In November 1989, an event occurred that seemed impossible. The Berlin Wall falls. And in December, on Malta, aboard the liner Maxim Gorky, George Bush and Mikhail Gorbachev meet. Present at this historic meeting were the gray eminences of global politics, Secretary of State James Baker and advisor Brent Scowcroft from the States, and ideologue Alexander Yakovlev from the Union. Amid the storm waves of the Mediterranean, it was announced, the Cold War is officially over. The Soviet Union recognized the right of Eastern Europe to freedom and its own path. 1989 drew to a close to the sounds of the song Wind of Change by the Scorpions. It was the year history broke its chains. At the Luzhniki Stadium in Moscow, the Peace Rock Festival gathered hundreds of thousands of fans to the songs of Ozzy Osbourne and Bon Jovi. The old world had finally collapsed. The Soviet Union entered the '90s with hope and fear, while the United States emerged as the absolute triumph of the new digital era. It was a time when borders were blurred and the future seemed infinite. We have only scratched the surface of what was happening between the two empires back in 1989. We would love to hear your story. What was the atmosphere like in your city during those years? Let's discuss it in the comments below. We read every single one of them. And of course, don't forget to subscribe. We have many more fascinating historical investigations coming your way. A huge thank you for watching, for your likes, and for recommending our channel to your friends and colleagues. Your support and curiosity are what inspire us to keep making even better content. You are the best of the best, and we truly appreciate you. Share this video, hit the bell icon, and stay tuned. It's only going to get more interesting from here.